Hey, just wanted to give a quick rundown on some of the changes we've had the MIST stuff the last few releases. I know it could be hard to gather it all just from the notes, so I wanted to go over a few things. So I'm on 3.4.8.2, which is the latest MRSDEV public release, and I got BAT here that I'm going to update. So first thing I wanted to show is a couple of things new with the top menu. And you can tear off most of our menus, and I do that a lot. So if I'm doing snapping or something, I'll just tear off snapping menu if I'm working on stuff. But there's a new thing under dev called, so the reason I want to show this is, like, with the blue background here, it's kind of hard to see with the transparency. So I'm going to go ahead and go to dark. It's a list of presets of background gradients you can set up. You can load, and so when I'm working with the blocks, a lot of times I want to have it darker so that I can see, but when I'm actually animating, I like it to be brighter, and that's just a personal preference thing. A lot of times when I'm working, I also will switch over to default material, and I like to have lights. So something that a lot of users don't know quite yet is that you can do in Lightroom Light. We have a list of options you can do. So this is modeling 1. So to perspective camera, I can add different lighting setups. And so it's just different ways to better see your mesh as you're working on stuff, or if you're animating to have a little bit of room lighting or whatever to see things better. Modeling 1's kind of what I usually, if my screen grabs and whatnot, are usually this one. This is kind of my default that I do on any scene I'm working on. You can also attach that lighting to an object. So if you have a scene camera, you can attach it to the camera, and it just sets up a series of lights with preset vectors and values, and then it constrains that to something so it tracks with whatever that camera is doing. So as I rotate the camera around, it's tracking the lighting. Let's see, there's a couple of new things in the menu that I haven't really shown, so I wanted to show that. So this is something I do a lot, rigging wise. So I'm just going to make a few spheres along here. And then, so with the create menu, this is another one that I use a lot. You can do locators if you want, which is make locators at those objects. But you can also do some other stuff. So if I select these and I say I want to have, this is the new one in the last couple releases, so linear track, it'll make a curve that will track, it sets up all the clusters and stuff for you. Or you can also do a cubic track, which is let's see, oops. I think I have to have more than 3. One sec. I believe that's what's going on. Or it could be a bug in my menu. We'll see which it is. Yeah, I got a bug. I gotta fix it. It should be a curve. It should be what you'll see when I do this. So you get a curve. I need to fix that. So I'll add it to my list of things to do. See, when you do this one, it doesn't actually track, it's just an actual curve. But I still do that a lot because you can do it with vertice selection as well. But it's just a handy thing. I'll make a bug note on that. Another thing that I'll do a lot is if I'm going to do like alignment stuff. CGM, snap. You can do arrange, like linear. I do this with the MIST stuff. And you can do spaced is going to be a linear curve, but it's going to keep the same spacing it had before. Anyway, there's a bunch of options. Ground is one I use a lot. So, oops. Let's see. Point special ground. So that's going to put them all on the ground using the bounding box to find the offset. And then you can do like closest as well. So if I want to snap them all to the closest, it's going to be, you know, I want to do more like that. I think it goes in the sequence. Close this. Oh, because the mesh has been other stuff happened to it. Anyway, I can do it to this one. Once you start messing with the mesh, it does weird things. I gotta get rid of the history on it. Let's see. Sort dags. So this is something that I do post build a lot. I'm thinking about adding it to this one I get on my parts. I can do my rig blocks. So I'm going to gather my rig blocks. So they're all going to be in here. And if I wanted to alphabetize this setup, it's kind of annoying. So there's a little utility you can use in other util sort dag, and it'll actually sort these alphabetically under that dag. It takes it a bit because of the way that Maya does stuff. But anyway, I do that as well. Let's see. Oh, so there's a couple ways to do this. So this is the old boy. So I did some CV editing on this collab curve on my bat here. If I wanted to mirror this to, come on now. Why can't I select anything? There we go, Maya. So this to this. It's a from to, and then utilities, if I go down to curve, our controls, I can mirror that one to another. Oops. I'm having difficulty with Maya wanting to help me select here. There we go. Why are you so hard to select? Alright, so then it's going to bring those across. However, when you're doing this on a number of things, it's kind of tedious to do that by hand. So in the, excuse me, so like on this ear, I shaped this ear with the CVs, and this one I mirrored, but it doesn't have the shapes yet. So what I can do is go to right ear and then block, and so this is new. And so subshapes push. It's going to actually do that mirror call from one to another. You want to make sure that it's you've done the regular mirror first, because it's going to actually, it doesn't care about the DAG position. It just cares about world CV position. So you can have some funky stuff happen if like the DAG's over here on this one and the DAG's over here on this one, and then you mirror it and then it looks right, but it's not. So just watch that. But I do that a lot now because I've been using the CV shaping a lot on the latest setups I've been doing. And so it's a way to push those changes across. Let's see. Okay, I got rid of the old select menu. It was slow, and replaced it with the new picker. So I'm going to show that. So select now, the easiest way to do it is just to do it this way. I also simplified this right-click menu. So this works like it should now. So you can just do it this way as well. For those of you who may have not updated for a while, so this was in the last release. So this is the new block editor. So to load a block into here, you just double-click it, and it's going to load it here. And this has a lot of stuff that you can do. So this is where the preferred way now to access the settings rather than the channel box. I'm trying to move everything over here. Once it's a live connection, so once that block is loaded here, any changes you make here is going to be, if it can be, reflected live over here. And I'll show some of that in a minute. But I wanted to show the new the picker. So sometimes it can be hard to find a particular thing that you want to select. And so I retooled this week the old block editor to something new. So if I wanted to work with the spine, if I right click here and say Picker UI, one second. Okay, so I'm going to be on the bat. So I can just change it here, or I can actually change it here. So if I have a, if I want to be on the arm here, I can say load selected, and it's going to figure out which block it is from that selection. And it's just a picker. So what the old stuff over here for the select was, you can select like all the subs, or you can walk the subs. I'm open to suggestions here. I was thinking maybe like have like an up and a down arrow to be able to select like all of them down or all of them up from this point. That's one thought I had. So this is just a first pass on this, but it's just a way to easily to pick things if you're trying to find something and you can't. Another thing that some of you might not be aware of is if I just want to work on the arm or below, that's fine. I can go Viz Focus, and it's going to hide the other bits. Let's see. One sec. I was being silly. I had the left arm selected. So that's what's going on. Viz Focus. Clear. Focus. Alright. I wonder why that's not working. It's like a bug. There we go. So if I just want to work on the arm, I could do that. You can also do it via, if I clear that, if you don't want to have them invisible, you can have them be templated. So the other blocks are there and you can see them, they're just templated, so it's just an outline, so it's easier to see stuff. If I don't want to switch back for whatever reason to default material so I can see through the mesh, this is something that came in a couple versions, releases back as well. I can do on these Viz form mesh template, and it's just going to template the form mesh on these, so I can still mess with stuff, but the surface is templated, so I can still see through it. So that's something new as well. Go back to reg and focus, clear. All right, let's see. Oh, color dags. This is something we've experimented with as too. So it's a new call under general to outliner color. Oh, I gotta go below. Probably move this somewhere else. But what it does is it colors the outliner blocks to help kind of differentiate what they are. So I don't have this as an automatic feature currently. It's just a way to help organize it. For me, it helps me to, like, when I have a lot of blocks, some of my, like the dragon's like 60 blocks. So it's easier to see, okay, where's, something red, okay, there's the segment. And I just don't have to look at the names. I can do it here and select stuff. You can search here. But anyway, it's just another thing we can do. I'm going to go ahead and send him to build, and I'm going to show this as well. For those of you who haven't messed with this send to build thing, so this came in 2 releases ago, but it's in the last month. So let me save the scene. So I'm going to build this rig. So I'm going to go select this, and I'm going to go to batch, send to my pi, and there's a new menu here that was taken from the post menu, and these settings are saved, but these are like everything that I want to happen for the build. And there's some new stuff here. On the cleanup, I now have a way to hide the joint access and gather the world dags. So when you do a build with that on, it's going to gather anything that's not a rig block and put it into a world group just to help clean up things easier. I have a new delete unused shaders and unused layers, and also remove references, because a lot of times I reference in another asset for size reference or whatever, and that was just something that I was doing a lot. I'm happy to add new options in here, so if you have things you'd like to see for the post-build checkbox stuff, I can add it. It's not a big deal. But I'm going to send this to build, and then I'm going to look at Dragon for a second with the new stuff. So I wanted to show the new scene real quick. So this came in last month. I want to, this section is new. So if you didn't see this or know this is here, or you haven't messed with this in a while. So scene is our content management system. We use it for exporting assets and animation, and we use it a lot of time for just jumping projects. So there's a search window here. So if I double click over here, it's going to load those bits, or those selections into like this center section is kind of our asset, and then the subtype information. So it's like you're walking the directories. Oh, it's under proxy. Where's Dragon proxy? Proxy Dragon. There he is. Here we go. This is what I want. Anyway, this is worth playing with. There's new right-click options as well for importing, for referencing. Replacing is going to save over that file. So if I right-clicked here and did replace, it's going to have a confirmation dialog to say if I want to replace that. Send to project is now working pretty well. Anyway, there's stuff you can do. You can open Maya files here. So if I do that, it's going to bring the Maya dialog path to here. And same thing for save too. It's something I use a lot. And then refresh is just to wait to refresh this window. But that's good for now. I'll go in this more in detail in another video. I just wanted to kind of show what's going on here. This is a pretty cool thing we're using a lot now. So anyway, here is our Dragon. So there's been some pretty big changes to the PreRig state in the last few releases. So the last release, we added the explicit joint placement. So before, if you'll note, you didn't have control over where the roll joints placement was, and now you do. You have explicit placement of where you want that. And then I also added the IK handles on the spine and stuff. So like there's the dag for the cog. And here is there's the IK start. So the way that I did have this last release, these were just kind of free flying. They could go anywhere, and that felt kind of weird as I was working through stuff. So I've made some changes, and I wanted to go over them. So you'll need to again rebuild your pre's. Hopefully these things are kind of solidifying now that you're not going to have to rebuild the pre's as often. But I think this is a pretty important update, so I want to show this real quick. Okay, so I'm going to do the tail first. So this is the last release tail before these changes I just made. So this is what you would have currently. So for those of you a few versions back, the joint chain is still signified by this. And then you have your handles, which are going to be the breakpoints for the main controls. And then this is just free flying, like I said. So the new way this works is if I wanted to, I'm going to rebuild this pre. And there's going to be some changes here that may or may not be apparent when you first look at it. All right. No, one is that should have been deleted. Let me just go and do this again. It wasn't the mid IK handle wasn't parenting properly before, and so they're getting duplicated. So now it'll be fine. All right. So you can still have full control over this mid handle, but but there's a new setup now, so you can slide this along the curve. So this curve that the joint chain actually is on, you can slide this along that. You can do the same thing with the end as well. So you can put this back where you want it to be. It just made a lot more sense to keep this more tied down to the actual deformation curve rather than to just be, you know, whatever. Another thing, so I was talking about this a little bit ago. So if I want to move like my end handle on the spine, you'll see that my pre-rig handles are not getting moved back. I played with that, but I didn't like how that felt. So instead I would just use block pre-rig and then just do a linear even. Let's not do linear, let's do cubic. I'm in the wrong place. Pre-rig, range, cubic, even. Alright, so it's just going to disperse those handles along that, that curve better, so that I generally want my handles to be evenly spaced along that chain, if that makes sense. The spine is a little different. It's pretty much the same, but the dag now actually for the cog. So here's the cog helper, and here's the dag. It has the same thing, so you can slide the cog along that deformation curve. Again, you can still move it off it if you just want it here. That's fine. You can do it. It just made more sense to have it be, again, tied to that. Same thing happens with the head as well. I added that to the head, so if I rebuild the head, cool. It does the same thing. So now I my seg mid handle here, I can slide it, and it's going to do the same stuff. I did want to show, so for roll counts, previously we'd been doing it in the channel box, and what the ideal way to do it now is to do it here, because you can do it live. So if I wanted to change my count along the neck from 6 joints to, you know, let's go 10. When I make the change in the UI, I'm able to pick that up, and then it's going to rebuild that. You can still do it here. You just need to make sure that, where is that? Neck joints 10. So if I want to change this to, you know, I don't know, 5. I have a new thing here on my pop-up to create joint helpers, and that's going to rebuild that joint helper chain, if that makes sense. Same thing with the rolls. So on this leg, so this is the last release, and the aim on this was like, I didn't like how this is, because I wanted the aim to be down the chain. And so let's just go and rebuild this front. I think there was a setting thing I did on here that wants to see what happens. No, that's fine. So this is something I've been doing lately on feet, is I have a ball on the foot, and I just feel like it's nice for you can do a pickup, and then I connect the toe or the thumb to the ankle rather than to the ball, because I want it to track with that so we can get some lift. But so now the roll joints, like I said, they're aiming down the chain. You can still, you know, do what you want with them, but they're aiming down the chain. It just felt a little more intuitive to me. The next big push we're going to do with 4.0 development is going to be the config stuff, which is going to make sharing and reusing some of these setups a lot easier. So that's going to be our major push for 4, along with I'm going to tackle the deformation chain stuff. So doing like volume preservation for elbow bends and wrist and fingers and all that stuff. So that's what we're playing with. It's been great seeing what all y'all been making with Miss, and I think that's it. Let's see if my notes, one sec. Yep. Enjoy. Talk soon.